You're listening to the Bulldog Insider Podcast, sponsored by Essentia Health.
Here, our hobbies become our work, and our work becomes our passion. But when joint pain or injuries keep us from doing what we love, it can affect our entire way of life. That's why we meet these challenges head on. Whatever your good day looks like, we'll find it together. This is Essentia Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, like nowhere else. Visit essentiahealth.org.
Hello and welcome to the Bulldog Insider Podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health. I'm Matt Wellens, the Bulldogs hockey beat writer at the Duluth News Tribune and the Rink Live.
And I'm Zach Schneider, the television voice of UMD hockey on My Nine Sports.
Joining this week on the podcast is what I consider to be a pretty inspirational person this season. It's sophomore goaltender Zach Stejskal of Cohasset. He announced in the fall that he was battling testicular cancer. And in his announcement, I remember it was in all caps, he promised to play again this season. And sure enough, he did Saturday in Denver, coming on in relief of Ryan Fanti for the second and third period to backstop the Bulldogs to a win over the Pioneers. Welcome to the podcast and welcome back to the crease, Zach Stejskal.
Thanks for having me on, guys. It's a pleasure to be here.
Zach, you told me Saturday night that that game in Denver still ranked second to the 5 overtime game against North Dakota and Fargo last spring. You still stand by that after having some time to reflect?
Oh, geez. Still a tough question, but I'd still rank North Dakota number one just because it was the longest game in NCAA history. And I don't know. I think that one just tops the cake a little bit more.
That's going to be a tough one for you to ever top in your career, isn't it?
Yeah, that's for sure.
Can you take us back to October when you were diagnosed with cancer? How did you first know that something was wrong?
So I kind of had some pain in my right testy for about a week. And at first I kind of thought it was testicular torsion because it was really painful. And I thought, that's what it was. The pain went away and my testy kind of just got really swollen and hard to touch, kind of like a hard-boiled egg, right? And that's not how they're supposed to feel. So my girlfriend, who's a nurse, actually, she's the one who was like, you got to go get that checked out. So she's the one that kind of dragged me into the hospital. And the day that I went in, I got diagnosed. So it all happened really fast.
Zach Schneider, it pays to be in a relationship with a medical professional, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've heard so many cases that they go undetected, and it was good for you to have some early recognition of this, and kudos to your girlfriend for getting you to go in and get checked out. But as this whole process has gone on, Zach, I mean, obviously in your early 20s it's not the news you want to get that you've had cancer, but what was the initial thought process? Was it always, the athlete mindset that, okay, this is just another hurdle, I'm going to beat this, I'm going to be back on the ice? Or what were the early emotions like for you when you first got the news?
Honestly, just like a lot of uncertainty at that time. When you get diagnosed, you don't know, if it's spread or whatnot. So I tried to take that approach, but it was hard. The athlete approach is just to kind of power through it, but not gonna lie, the first couple of weeks were pretty tough on me.
Did the doctors know right away, what it was? Did your girlfriend have any idea? Did you have any idea that this was cancer that you could be facing?
Honestly, I did WebMD it. And obviously if you WebMD anything, it tells you have cancer. So I didn't really, think about it that much. I had no idea, to be honest. And when I went in for my diagnosis, they did an ultrasound, and you actually can't tell if you have cancer until after you have surgery and after they can examine it. But they kind of told me right away that they've seen enough of these cases that they pretty much know that what it is already. So definitely scary news that the night I went in, for sure.
When you got the diagnosis and such, did the doctors give you any sort of timeline of, what the whole process would be like? And did they maybe indicate that you'd be able to play again this season, or was this something you in your mind you were determined to do?
it was definitely more in my mind what I was determined to do. Obviously, you don't want to miss any games at all. But I knew probably about 3 weeks after my surgery and after they had it diagnosed for certain what my timeline would be then. So kind of around the time the article came out with the Bulldogs, I had a good timeline set then.
At which point did they tell you that, I mean, you went through the surgery and then you had some rounds of chemotherapy, correct? That was the right timeline. So at which point did they kind of indicate to you that the cancer was gone? I know you don't know for sure if it will ever come back or anything like that, but you know, as media members, this is such a different situation from the outside looking in as an injury, a knee injury, when we kind of go right to timeline, right? You know, when's he going to be able to play again? For you, you know, it was more, you know, when's he going to be healthy again? And then you get into the playing aspect. But was there a point, like you said, maybe 3 weeks where they said, you know, hey, the surgery's gone well, the chemotherapy's going well, and now you can almost treat it like an injury and just kind of get back in the rehab mindset that you would normally have?
Yep. So actually the reason I did chemotherapy was with the type of cancer I had, Mount seminoma, stage 1. With that type of cancer, there's like a 50% chance, 30, some peer review articles say 30, some say 50% chance of it coming back. And obviously chemotherapy would completely decimate those numbers. So now I'm only at like 1 to 2% chance. But right after my surgery, the doctor was fairly certain that he got it all out right away. So that was really good to hear.
So early detection was really key in this for you.
Yeah, it was for sure. I mean, I talked to my doctor and he said some guys are so stubborn that they don't come in until their, you know, testicles the size of a freaking baseball. And I couldn't believe him when he said that. So that was honestly my main message behind like Movember, was just like, go get it checked out.
What was that support like when just everyone rallying around and Patter's leading that effort? And he's done Movember campaigns before. I think he's going into the NCHC Movember Mustache Hall of Fame now after winning this in back-to-back years that they've had the contest. But when you make the announcement and the donations and the messages and the support starts flowing in, what was that like for you?
It was really inspiring, honestly, to me, just to see the support around the community. But it was kind of funny, like every week that I'd check, there'd be $1,000 or two more $1,000 like in the account. At one point we were happy with, I think our goal was like $1,000 and we were happy that was like 500. And then kind of when everything got released, those numbers kept rising. It was great to see.
Can you make your case for Ben Pat as the 2022 Hockey Humanitarian Award winner right now? He seems like a guy that obviously hasn't played a lot. I know as media members, we're not necessarily supposed to root for the teams that we cover, but I was rooting for him to get a win out at Northern Michigan. I know everybody was, but to have him in the goalie room and be part of maybe your inner circle on the team, even what's he meant to you through your career and even this process?
I mean, he's always been like he's the older guy on the team, so he kind of joke around with his age, but he's always been like a father figure to me, an older brother figure to me, honestly. Like as soon as I came into UMD, he kind of took me under his wing and kind of showed me the ropes with everything. And I'm sure Fance was the same, but literally, like, it doesn't matter how much he plays. Like, he's probably the most important guy on our team, just in the locker room and all around. So he's the most deserving for that award, I think, for sure.
You have a couple teammates that have gone through cancer. Jarrett Lee did when he was younger, and Will Francis had his college hockey career delayed by leukemia. I'm wondering, you know, how much did it help to have teammates who've been through, you know, not necessarily your cancer, but have gone through this fight against cancer before? And were they resources that you were able to lean on at all?
Absolutely. Kind of when I was going into chemo, I talked to those guys right away, just like kind of what was it going to be like and how I'm going to feel and whatnot. But Jared Lee told me something right away when I got cancer. He's like, as soon as you get cancer, like you're a part of this very close community, and we're all rooting for each other. And you know, that was really helpful early on. And I've had so much support just like through my Instagram DMs, like people reaching out from like all over, just saying like, hey, should I go get checked out? Like, I'm feeling this, whatever. and some people like have like Nate Bortson. He's on UMD. He's part of their equipment staff. Him and I got diagnosed at like the same time, and he reached out right away, and we've been just kind of talking. So it's gonna be good to see him this weekend for sure.
I remember that first game that you were back out on the ice there in Mankato, and I remember seeing Mavericks goaltender Dryden Mackay break the red line rule in warmups there, and he crossed over to come talk to you. What's that support been like? You mentioned, someone on the UMD staff going through this as well. What's it been like, the entire, not just the Bulldog community, but the entire college hockey community coming out to help support you and such?
Honestly, I wasn't expecting kind of any really support from any other teams, but seriously, every weekend that we've played, going through the handshake line, everybody's, giving me a tap on the shoulder and just be like, we're so glad to see you back on the ice. And honestly, I wasn't really expecting that, but holy cow, that's awesome to see.
So it was a progression with you. We were happy to see you back on the line chart after the break and back on the bench. What were those emotions like? Let's start there. Just putting the uniform back on before you got back in the game action, but just to be on the bench and around the guys again.
Yeah, especially for like the first like 3 weekends, I knew I wasn't gonna be playing. But the first game back, I remember vividly just being so excited, like before the game, even though I wasn't playing, I was just like with all the guys again, and we were doing our team warm up and just team rituals and stuff like that. It's seriously, it brought so much joy to me. It's kind of unremarkable. It's just amazing.
And then you fast forward a couple of weeks, and from what Matt and you talked about after that game in Denver, it sounded like you maybe knew that you might be called upon based on what Ryan was going through with the stomach bug that some of the other guys were dealing with there. But what were the emotions like after the first period when Scott says, "Hey, you're going in," and what was said in the locker room? Was anything said among the guys? It felt like, I mean, I was watching on TV, but it felt like the guys really dug in for you. You played really well, but it felt like they really dug in for you in those final 2 periods as well.
Yeah, they were stoked to see me back in there. Obviously, I got a bunch of stick taps before going on the ice, and Sandy said, "Welcome back." I don't speak much of Sandy, but when he says something to you, you gotta really appreciate that. And he kind of tapped me on the shoulder, said, "Welcome back." And from then on, I knew, I was gonna go out there and give it my all. And we were lucky enough to sneak away with a win.
And Scott said before, he really doesn't talk to the goaltenders much, but I think that's more out of like, he's afraid of messing up the juju or anything over there.
Yeah.
What's the support been like? Are you hearing from a lot of those same people that were, cheering you on and checking in with you during your fight with cancer?
Yeah. I mean, my phone blew up after the game on Saturday, just kind of the same people reaching out, just saying, it's good to see you back in the net. Like, what a journey. And, it really has been.
So what now? I mean, obviously this is still really fresh. We're talking about this the week that after it happened. It's always going to be a part of your life, but and we talked with Riley Tufte about this when he was a type 1 diabetic playing hockey at UMD. And one of the things he said that kind of always stuck with me was, a completely different situation than yours in a sense, but he always said, I just want to be a hockey player. I just want to be a college athlete and a student athlete. Do you want this story to kind of die down, or are you going to go the other direction and maybe say you want to be a super big advocate for early detection for other athletes that might be going through the same thing? I mean, which, do you have an idea of, which kind of attitude you want to take to this? Cause you still got a couple years left here, hopefully at UMB.
Yeah. That's a good question, but I think I'm going to go to the route of advocating it more, obviously. Kind of like what I said earlier, and with everything that happened with Movember and what the doctors have told me with guys, not getting checked out. I definitely want to be like a driving force behind a good message. And, because health is your most important thing. I know you guys have probably heard that a million times, but it really is. And if I can get somebody to go to the hospital and maybe like, I don't know, change their life or whatever, then I want to be a part of that. I want to do that.
How did that help you? You mentioned, after you came public about your diagnosis, that people were were reaching out to you, and obviously it's got to feel uncomfortable when all of a sudden people are like asking you for medical advice now. Granted, you got a girlfriend nurse that you could maybe direct them to, but she's probably even nervous giving medical advice over Instagram. There's probably laws against that or something too. That probably not supposed to do that. Recommended. But for you, what's it been like, and how much did that kind of help in the maybe the mental healing process that your story, maybe will help or already has, helped someone else?
Yeah, I mean, I hope people got to see that article. One thing is, I'm not trying to make this about me. And I think I kind of made that clear with the Movember page. Like, I want to be advocate for a greater cause. And for people that are reaching out, I just give them my best advice. Just go to the hospital, obviously, seek treatment. That's the best thing to do.
All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll have more with Zach Schneider and Zach Stejskal. You're listening to the Bulldog Insider Podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health.
I'm McHatton.
I'm Jess Myers, and we are the co-hosts of the Rink Live podcast. We really pride ourselves on finding some unique guests and covering some of the topics of the day, not only in college hockey, but kind of across a broad spectrum.
Yep, we also talk junior hockey. We'll get some of that talk in there as well. Women's hockey, men's hockey. We try to talk to people from throughout the game and actually from all over the country. That's been one of the great things on Zoom.
And Mick and I are kind of OG, the Rink Live guys. We were here from the start, about 3 years ago now when things got off the ground, but we brought a fair amount of college hockey experience to this job. I went to Minnesota Duluth. I covered college hockey starting then when I was a student. I've covered the Frozen Four 28 times, and I primarily cover the Minnesota Gophers now for the Rink Live, but dabble in a little bit of everything.
And I've covered St. Cloud State hockey. Now this will be my 12th season. So please check us out on the Rink Live podcast on Mondays.
Hey there, my name is Samantha Urkala, and I'm the host of the Duluth News Tribune Minute podcast. Hear the most important news of the day, including weather and sports, from Duluth, Minnesota, and from around the Northland. Join me and my fellow reporters as we take you through the local news you need to start your day. Episodes are released Monday through Friday and are available on Apple, Spotify, and wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for supporting local journalism.
Welcome back to the Bulldog Insider Podcast, brought to you by Essentia Health. I'm Matt Wellens, joined by Zach Schneider and Bulldogs sophomore goaltender Zach Stejskal. We're just going to do some quick hits here, Zach, to close this out. But before we get into that, we talked a little bit about Movember. Ben Pat, I don't know if he's coming back for year number 6 here. Probably depends how much you guys have made fun of him in the last season for being an old man. He has said to me he's a little concerned about being the oldest guy in college hockey. If he were to come back, are you the guy to take over the Movember reins, or do you not have the mustache growing skills that Patter has?
Not only has Patter raised a bunch of money for that page, I'm pretty sure he's won it every single year. The Movember NCHC, guy of the month or whatever it is. I am nowhere near as capable as him as growing a mustache. That I can't even grow, fuzz or anything. So, but I would love to take over the page. I mean, sport's a good cause.
You got some teammates that are, I heard Ben Almquist has some mustache growing skills there, maybe.
That guy can grow hair all over his body. He is a straight up freaking gorilla. Like, he has hair everywhere.
All right, so there's the entry. And I think Patter has won Movember every year he's entered, I believe, on that. Jared Hilderman gave it a run one year. Maybe a little TMI on Ben Almquist there. But
he lets people know.
Oh, he does. He's proud of that. All right.
Yeah.
I can't grow facial hair either. Zach's the facial hair of this podcast. Quick hits here. Better dressed goaltender, Ryan Fanti or Ben Pat?
Oh, they're going to come at me for this, but I'd have to go Ryan. He dresses up every single day. It could be Monday morning, negative 30 degrees. That guy's wearing a jacket and some sort of jeans with some nice shoes. He's all about the fashion.
Thunder Bay, that's the fashion capital of Ontario, I believe, right?
But yeah, that's what I heard.
Should Ben Pat come back for a 6th year?
I would love to have Ben Pat back for a 6th year. He has meant so much to me, coming in, and if he does decide to go, it's gonna be an emotional day, that's for sure.
Could you guys go through an entire year and not make old man jokes at him?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely
No.
not. Okay. That's going to influence his decision.
It's seriously every single day. Like he hears it every single day.
Zach, you're in the Olympics and you get a day off. What sport are you going to watch?
Whew.
Live vicariously through Noah Cates here.
I think I'm gonna go curling, US curling. Those guys seem pretty electric.
We're recording this on Wednesday. Emma Soderberg was telling that's the sport she got to hit up on her day off there. Who is the non-hockey Olympian you would have liked to meet in Beijing?
I'd probably go Sean White, just because it's his last Olympics and he had a pretty emotional run at the end there. But a fun guy and great career for him.
That's the unanimous answer we've heard a lot on the podcast here. And I think I saw Maddie Rooney. She's Maddie Rudy, so of course she knows Sean White, but that's who Noah wanted to meet as well. We'll have to check in with him.
I actually, well, this might be a spoiler, but I think Noah got to meet him. I think he sent a picture in the group message of him or them together.
That's good. That's good. I was going to say, all he has to do is go to Maddie, and Maddie will hook him up with. She knows everyone over there at this point. Right. You can sign a name, image, likeness deal with any company or organization in the world. Who are you signing with?
That's a tough one. Oh, I'd probably have to go like with a car company. I'm pretty big into cars. I like Toyota. Toyota is my thing. I had a old 4Runner and now I have a Tacoma, so probably go Toyota.
We haven't talked cars on this podcast. So what did you originally have?
So I used to have a 2002. It was kind of decked out Toyota 4Runner. They're kind of like outdoor, definitely like a car for Duluth. And now I have a 1998 Toyota Tacoma. It's like lifted with black rims and it's in really good shape. So I don't know. I'm kind of a car guy.
I was gonna say you went from 2002 to 1998 here on the cars. Yeah. Most guys come on here like dreaming of ditching their old car and then upgrading. I'm a Toyota guy, but I have a 2010 Toyota Corolla. Not the greatest Duluth car, but
yeah, you need that 4-wheel in Duluth for sure.
Last one, toughest one on this podcast today for you. Who is coming out of Section 7 AA going into state this season?
Section AA, obviously Grand Rapids. Come on, I know. Is it Anoka has a good team, don't they?
I was gonna say who's the big challenger in AA this year for Grand Rapids?
Andover, that's right. Yep, yeah.
Andover's pretty good. Grand Rapids took one on the chin earlier this week.
Yeah. We've always had a tough time versus Hermtown. Like, I don't think I ever beat them in my high school career. Even like growing up, they always had a really good team.
You got a couple Hermantown guys that you're going to hear from this week.
Yeah. I've already heard it all day. Even DP, like our coach, he probably gives it to me the worst.
What about Krause? Krause doesn't chirp in there either? It's Derek Plant who does the chirping, huh?
Yeah, it's Planter probably because he has kids on the team, but
it was his kid who scored the overtime winner, so he's got to say something, right?
Yeah. I hope to see Rapids and Andover in the Amsoil here in a couple of weeks for the semifinal or section final. Sorry.
Admit, how bad is it when in that locker room when Hermantown's on a roll? How bad are those guys?
Honestly, we make jokes at them all the time, but I mean, it's pretty impressive how many guys they have on our team, so they kind of give it back pretty good.
All right, we will wrap it up there. Wrap it up with ripping on the Hermantown guys. They'll probably be back on here to chirp later in the season. Zach, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast this week and to talk about what can be a tough subject for people. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Zach. Good luck the rest of the way. Hopefully, we get to talk to you again.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Zach.
All right. Bye.
Thanks to Zach Stejskal for joining us this week on the podcast. Bulldog Insider comes out every Thursday, and you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Subscribe and rate us. For more Bulldogs hockey coverage, visit therinklive.com and DuluthNewsTribune.com. Zach, what does the TV schedule look like for My9 Sports this weekend?
The TV schedule is somewhat confusing this week. So let's walk through it game by game. It starts Friday afternoon at 3:00. We've got the UMD women taking on St. Cloud State. That game not on My9. It is on Bally Sports North. So you can watch it there. The North Dakota UMD men's game on Friday night starts at 8:00. Let's start with that, and later start for the UMD men on Friday. That one's on CBS Sports Network. The women's game then on Saturday, not on TV, and the Saturday men's game back at 7:00 and on My Nine Sports. So if you need to, you can rewind that and play it again, or read Matt's article because it'll all be spelled out there as well. But 3 different TV stations in Amsoil Arena this weekend.
Go to DuluthNewsTribune.com/newsletter. Subscribe to the Bulldog Insider newsletter. I have the follow, watch, listen in there every week, and I try really, really hard not to screw it up. This will be my biggest test of the season right now to make sure I get the TV schedule right for all of you there. Thanks to our sponsor, Essentia Health, for their continued support of this podcast, as well as the Bulldog Insider newsletter. We'll be back next week. Thanks for listening.